Alrighty, thanks so much for joining us on the bright side once again. We're talking protein, we're talking building, we're talking bone building. I want to review a little bit about what we talked about yesterday. We talked yesterday about this idea or last couple of days, this idea how bacteria can help turn what the body has detoxified in the liver into retoxified entities, including food dyes. And this is kind of a problem that we don't hear a lot about. Everybody assumes that once the body has processed something, that it's processed. Well, indeed, that's not the case. If you have the wrong kinds of bacteria in your gut, what ends up happening is those bacteria can actually retoxify poisons. And this is a big, big problem. This is why it's so important to make sure that you're getting your probiotic bacteria. This is why it's such a big, big issue to get, not only to get probiotic bacteria in a supplemental fashion, but also to get probiotic bacteria in terms of fermented foods. Probiotics we all know about probiotics as far as helping us digest substances. They make enzymes, and they also make vitamins, but this idea of bacteria in the gut retoxifying entities that have already been poisoned is why using probiotic supplements can help protect you from cancer and can help protect you from what's called endotoxemia, or toxins in the blood. So probiotic bacteria, in my opinion, should form the core of any good nutritional supplement program, including the Mighty 90 and probiotic bacteria. The next protein I want to talk about in terms of our discussion on bone building protein is a blood protein. And again, this isn't a substance that we hear a lot about, but anyone who's done a liver panel knows the name of this protein. And I'm talking about egg white protein. I'm talking about albumin. Before we get into the importance of albumin as a blood protein, I want to say a little bit about albumin as a skincare ingredient. In fact, this is how I first started to hear about albumin. And in order to appreciate the importance of albumin in skincare, we got to talk a little bit about a concept called hygroscopicity, which is a fancy way of saying water trapping. Hygroscopicity means that something traps water. When something is hygroscopic, it acts like a sponge. It traps water. In nature, there's lots of molecules that have this property of trapping water. Sugars are hygroscopic. You can observe this property when you put a teaspoonful of sugar in water. The dissolving action, how sugar just goes right into the water, is a classic sign of hygroscopicity, of water trapping. Honey is hygroscopic. Caramel is hygroscopic. Maple syrup is hygroscopic. Rice syrup, corn syrup, these are all hygroscopic materials, and they make great moisturizers and skincare products. I personally, when I'm making a cleanser or I want a moisturizing toner, something that's water soluble, I always add a little bit of rice syrup or corn syrup. These are sweeteners, but they make great they act as a hygroscopic ingredient that can turn a toner or can turn a cleanser, which ordinarily might not be so moisturizing, into almost like a moisturizer. Sugars like glucose and fructose, the kinds that taste sweet in syrups and honey as well, table sugar, all of these can have hygroscopic properties. For the most part, sugars are composed of two pieces. They're said to be disaccharides. Sometimes you'll have a sugar that's one piece, like a monosaccharide. But if you really want hygroscopicity, if you really want water trapping, you want to start looking at long-chain sugars. You'll get some hygroscopic properties from disaccharides and monosaccharides, these things that have one or two pieces on them. But if you really want to get water trapping and you really want to get moisturizing, you want a polysaccharide. We've talked about these a lot because polysaccharides are used in are very functional when it comes to healthcare. Polysaccharides like hyaluronic acid, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But when it comes to moisturizing, polysaccharides can have real neat water trapping properties. But you want to make sure that these polysaccharide materials don't dissolve if you really want to get moisturization. If you really want to get moisturization, you want these water trapping materials to suspend, to hang in the water, not to dissolve in where you don't know that they're there, but to kind of create a gel, to create a body. You'll find these kinds of body-creating sugars in shampoos and in lotions. They're technically called gums. You may have heard of the term, for example, guar gum. Guar gum is a polysaccharide that comes from the guar bean. In pharmacy, we use something called acacia gum. Acacia gum has been used for many years in the world of pharmacy to thicken cough syrups. One of the most important of the hygroscopic sugar gums is something called xanthan gum. Many of you have seen xanthan gum on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I get letters periodically about people who want to know what xanthan gum is and if they can be allergic to xanthan gum or they can have some kind of toxicity associated with the xanthan gum. Not going to happen. Xanthan gum is essentially inert, although, as I say, it does have a little bit of moisturizing properties. Xanthan gum, you'll see it in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You'll see it. Actually, xanthan gum is used in a lot of products as a thickener. It comes from a bacteria. It's actually a fermented product. It comes from a bacteria called Xanthomonas, and thus the name xanthan gum. Xanthan gum is not toxic. It's not allergenic. It's used mostly in powders that are going to be turned into liquids, and that's because xanthan gum has a thickening property, like all polysaccharides. Not a lot of thickening, just a tiny little bit of thickening. It gives liquids a tiny little bit of body. Giving liquids body is an old pharmacy trick for improving taste. Food processors like to take advantage of this thickening property. You'll see xanthan gum and other gums on the ingredient decks of soups and salad dressings and pasta sauces. Sometimes you'll see it in cream cheese. Sometimes you'll see it even in ice cream. Now, whether or not you want these thickening gums in your ice cream or your cream cheese, that's debatable. But as far as the BTT goes, that tiny little bit of xanthan gum isn't going to really make much of a difference. And what it will do is it will improve the taste because by thickening the liquid, xanthan gum allows the material, the tasty material in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine to stay on your taste buds a little bit longer. And you get a better taste. Using thickening ingredients and cough syrups and ordinarily not good tasting kinds of substances, using these thickening kinds of ingredients can help improve their taste. All right, that's all we got. That's all for now here. We'll come back here just a moment. 855-660-4261 is our number. All right, we're going to be talking about a blood protein that makes up most of the protein in your blood. It's called albumin. Many of you have seen this on your liver panel. Albumin, well, in order to understand the importance of albumin, we got to talk about hygroscopicity, which is a fancy way of saying water trapping. The most important water trapping molecules are going to be sugar molecules or gums, long-chain sugar molecules like xanthan gum, which you'll see on the ingredient deck on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. One of my favorite hygroscopic water trapping ingredients in the skincare world, when I'm formulating skincare products, is something called alpha hydroxy acids. Now, most of you have heard, or at least most women have heard of alpha hydroxy acids. Most folks have heard of AHAs by now. Glycolic acid is the most famous of the alpha hydroxy acids. We've talked in the past about glycolic acid and lactic acid, malic acid, citric acid, tartaric acid, acetic acid. These are all alpha hydroxy acids, and we've talked about them in the past on the bright side in terms of their exfoliating properties, and indeed, these things are super important for making your skin nice and soft and smooth. I love using alpha hydroxy acids in cleansing products, and I've formulated many cleansers with alpha hydroxy acids. In fact, one of my favorites is something I'm going to be selling here, hopefully pretty soon, my active body wash product. And indeed, alpha hydroxy acids make great exfoliators for smoothing and softening the skin. They dissolve dead skin cells on the surface of your skin. They can give your skin a smoother, younger looking appearance. They can stimulate the production of other natural water trapping substances in the skin itself. In other words, you can use your alpha hydroxy acids on your skin, and your skin will make its own moisture trapping ingredients. So using alpha hydroxy acids, in addition to being wonderful for exfoliating and smoothing and softening your skin, they can actually be moisturizers in the sense that they can help. They can act hygroscopically. They can act in a water trapping fashion, and they can help you make your own water trapping ingredients in your skin. The problem, if there is a problem with alpha hydroxy acids, is the acid. They're acidic. And that's the one knock on alpha hydroxy acids. You can't leave them on your skin for a really long period of time unless they've been modified or neutralized, at least partially. For many years, there was an alpha hydroxy acid molecule that was called ammonium lactate. And ammonium lactate for many years was known as the only official prescription moisturizer. If you went to a dermatologist back in the 1980s or 1990s and you told him you had dry skin, or he looked at your skin and said it was real dry, chances are you'd get a prescription for something called lacthydrin. Lacthydrin was made with 12% ammonium lactate, and man, was that a good moisturizer. Ammonium lactate is a derivative of lactic acid. It's not acidic, it's a modified form of lactic acid, but man, was that a good moisturizer. In fact, to this day, in my opinion, if you just want a straight moisturizing product, you want to be using something like ammonium lactate, or at least an alpha hydroxy acid version of ammonium lactate, which is lactic acid. These days, you don't need a prescription for Lacthydrin. You can get it over the counter, and as I say, it is a really, really effective skin moisturizer. Many of you have heard of lactic acid. That's because lactic acid, in addition to being an exfoliator, because it's an alpha hydroxy acid, in addition to helping your skin make its own moisture factors, in addition to it being a moisturizer itself, lactic acid plays a very significant role in human biochemistry. If you've ever felt the burn from lifting weights, what you felt is lactic acid, and as it turns out, there's a reason why you want to feel the burn when you're working out. That's because lactic acid, in addition to being a very, very important topical product, is a growth factor. Yes, lactic acid stimulates the production of muscle fibers and connective tissue, and that's why when you're lifting weights and you feel the burn, you get a better workout and you get better results. Lactic acid's got a reputation as well as being a biological waste product. It's got a lot of things that it does. I don't want to get too much into talking about lactic acid because we're talking about hygroscopicity here, but you should know that milk, which contains lactic acid, has got a reputation for being a moisturizer because of the moisturizing or hygroscopic properties of lactic acid. And then speaking of the skin, when it comes to polysaccharides, there's wonderful moisturizing and activating, growth-stimulating polysaccharides in the skin. Many times these polysaccharides, these long-chain sugars that are in the skin, are linked up with amino acids, so technically they're called proteoglycans. Proteo comes from the word protein, glycan comes from the word sugar. Your connective tissue, the stuff underneath the surface of your skin, is absolutely packed with proteoglycans, and it's the proteoglycans, the protein sugar molecules, that account for the robust, beefy quality of skin. And this is especially evident in young skin, and especially evident in the facial skin, in young facial skin, and its breakdown of the connective tissue and deficiencies in the production of proteoglycans that make us look older. It's deficiencies in the production of proteoglycan and the secondary breakdown in connective tissue that are associated with visible signs of aging, wrinkles, and sagginess of the skin, laxity of the skin. This is why you can't really use a lot of topical products, with some exceptions, to make a difference in wrinkles and older-looking skin. Perhaps the most important and well-known of the hygroscopic molecules that's in your skin is something called hyaluronic acid. Now, that's kind of a tongue twister, but if you break it up into little pieces, it's easier to say, and it sure is important stuff. So it might be something that we want to think about. It might be something we want to learn to pronounce. Hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is found throughout the body. It may be the most hygroscopic water-trapping substance in all of biochemistry. 1 gram of hyaluronic acid, that's maybe a quarter teaspoon or so of hyaluronic acid, in sponge-like fashion can absorb nearly a gallon of water. That's incredible, and that's pretty darn water-trapping and hygroscopic. Imagine that. Just a quarter teaspoon of this stuff can swell up to absorb nearly a gallon of water. This is why hyaluronic acid is found in the body wherever the body needs to trap lots of moisture. For example, the fluid inside your eyeballs is largely made up of hyaluronic acid. Joints contain large amounts of hyaluronic acid, and of course your skin is really loaded. The connective tissue in your skin is really loaded with hyaluronic acid. Dermatologists will actually inject hyaluronic acid right in your skin. There's a product they can get called Juvederm, some of you may have heard of. And Juvederm is basically a manipulated form of hyaluronic acid, and it's treated and it's marketed as a way of treating of temporarily treating at least wrinkles and fine lines. You can also use hyaluronic acid topically. You can put it right on your skin. It makes a great moisturizer because of its water trapping properties. And you know what? If you don't want to spend a lot of money, and hyaluronic acid can be kind of expensive, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, there's a really neat trick you can use to make your own hyaluronic acid containing products. I'll tell you about that when we come back from our break. I am Pharmacist Ben. You are listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. All right, we'll get your calls here in just a second. There's a really neat trick you can use to make your own hyaluronic acid containing products. Hyaluronic acid it's one of the more expensive ingredients. It's not as expensive as it used to be, but it's still a pricier skincare ingredient, and typically you'll only find hyaluronic acid in more expensive products, eye creams, expensive eye creams and such. I use it all the time. I like putting it in cleansers when I'm formulating cleansers and toners for that matter, because of its hygroscopic water trapping property. It can add a nice moisturizing quality to cleansers and toners, which ordinarily are not known, at least, as being moisturizing. But if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a hyaluronic acid containing product, you can use a little trick. You can take you can get some hyaluronic acid capsules off of the internet. You can get them pretty much anywhere these days, and cost maybe $30 for 100 or 50 milligram capsules. Break open a capsule, dissolve it in water, and then put that water in a spray bottle, and you can use it as a nice moisturizing mister, and it'll cost you just pennies a dose. Or you can take a few drops of your hyaluronic acid water, and you can add it right to your favorite lotion or favorite cream, and then you can make yourself your own expensive eye cream or expensive moisturizer that's not even that expensive, and you can beef up the moisturizing properties of your lotion or cream. There's some neat benefits that you can get from hyaluronic acid capsules in terms of your hair as well, and we'll tell you about that tomorrow as we continue talking about hygroscopicity and how it's involved with protein and how it's involved with good health. As it turns out, albumin, which is the blood's most important protein, is extremely hygroscopic, and you can actually use albumin levels as a marker of morbidity, which means disease, and mortality, early demise. Albumin is a very important marker, as it turns out, for early death. If your albumin levels are low, that's a sign that you may have a degenerative disease crisis on the way or an early demise on the way as well. We will continue talking about that tomorrow as we continue our discussion on protein and bone building and protein and bodybuilding as well. All right, 855-660-4261 is our Bright Side phone number. If you've got questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, if you want to get off your meds and get on a good nutritional supplement program, if you have questions about the longevity products, or if you have a success story, we love hearing success stories, or you just want to contribute to the conversation, 855-660-4261 is your number. Let's take our first phone call of the day. Barbara in Florida. Welcome to the Bright Side. What's going on? Barbara?
Hello, yes, my name is Barbara, and I was diagnosed with vascular artery stenosis.
Okay. Awesome.
A week ago, and I was wondering if you had any suggestions.
Sure, we got lots of suggestions. First of all, how old are you?
63.
Okay, and you must have some other stuff going on as well.
I'm having headaches.
Okay, well, that's all related to the vascular stenosis. Vascular stenosis is basically a blockage of the circulatory, of blood going through the circulatory system. Stenosis just means stuff is clogging up, or the vessels are clogging up. But what else do you have going on, man? If you're in your 60s and you've just been diagnosed with vascular stenosis, you must have had you must have other stuff going on. That doesn't just appear. When blood vessels have narrowed and the circulatory system, blood is not moving through the circulatory system as it should, that doesn't just happen. You must have an issue with blood fats, probably digestive problems, maybe diabetes, weight issues.
No, I actually have low blood fat lipid levels.
Okay.
40 years ago, I had the flu shot and
no. This is no, ma'am. Listen up, Barb.
Okay.
It's a degenerative condition. Vascular stenosis is technically a narrowing of blood vessels, and this occurs when cells start to divide really, really rapidly. Picture a garden hose. Okay, in your mind's eye, picture a garden hose, and that's going to be an example of our vascular, of our circulatory system. And if you picture the garden hose, in the inside part of the garden hose, there's a lining inside the garden hose, right? Does that make sense? How there's a lining?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the body, you have living tissue, so it's not exactly like a garden hose. In the body, you have cells that form that little lining, or that lining in the garden hose in the circulatory system. When you have vascular stenosis, the cells are dividing really fast and rapidly, and that's what causes that narrowing. The cells are growing too fast. Now, if you listen to the bright side before, I don't know if you have, but for those, okay, and you know, whenever cells divide rapidly, this is a fundamental cause of disease. Cells dividing rapidly. It can show up as cancer. It can show up as endometriosis. It can show up as blemishes or zits. It can show up in many, many ways. It could show up as stenosis. But whenever cells are dividing rapidly, you're dealing with inflammation. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of inflammation like a sprained ankle inflammation. I'm talking about microscopic inflammation at the level of a cell. And this causes the cells to do all kinds of crazy things. And one of the things that happens is they grow out of control. Vascular stenosis is nothing more than cells growing out of control. If you really want to address it, you got to figure out what is causing that kind of inflammatory process at the level of a cell. And almost always it's going to be related to something that's getting into the body that shouldn't be getting into the body. Now, I'm not going to hate to keep saying this over and over again. I know some folks are probably getting sick of hearing it, but when stuff is getting into your body, it's not getting in magically, and you're not injecting it into your blood. It's got to come in. Occasionally, maybe you'll be breathing it, but that's rare, almost impossible. It's got to be coming in from food. Now, it's hard to make that link. You know, you say, oh, it's vascular stenosis. What's that got to do with food? It seems like it's completely unrelated. It's not, because stenoses, it's microinflammation. Microinflammation is immunity. Immunity is defense. It means your body's defending itself from something. Almost always food. So, my dear, you gotta focus on the digestive system first. That means eliminating problem foods. Most important move. Secondly, you want to start using nutritional support for the digestive system. Get yourself on fermented foods and the BioLumin Nightly Essence from Longevity. Key probiotic supplement. Now, digestive enzymes, by the way, as we said before, there's digestive enzymes in the BioLumin Nightly Essence, so you'll get some there. But digestive enzymes taken on an empty stomach can also improve the circulatory system, improve the movement of fluids through the circulatory system. So it's not going to necessarily help the stenoses, but it can help improve the movement of fluid through the digestive system, taking your ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach. And I would be doing that as well. And then there's nutritional supplements that you can use that will directly improve vascular, the blood vessel health, as well as the circulatory system. I'm going to give you a whole bunch right now, okay? Probably the most important is vitamin E. You want to, or at least it's one of the most important. You want to be making sure you're getting 400 international units a day of vitamin E a day. If you look for mixed tocopherols, that's a little more deluxe form of vitamin E. Make sure you're getting magnesium. That's also very important for the circulatory system. You can use the OsteoMag from Longevity, and I'd be taking at least 1,000 milligrams a day of magnesium. Vitamin C, the primal panacea. It's good for everything, and it's especially good for the blood vessels and the circulatory system. You'll get a good healthy dose of vitamin C in the B complex. In the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. And then there's the B complex. Hang tight. We'll finish up when we come back from our break. Okay, Barbara? Don't go away. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
All right, we're back on The Bright Side talking to Barbara in Florida about the circulatory system. Barb, you there? Barbara. Let's see, we have Barbara.
Yes.
Okay, there you go, Barbara. All right, so you want to improve the flow of blood, and you want to improve the health of the vascular system, the circulatory system. Vitamin E is your superstar circulatory nutrient. I'd be using 400 IU a day, as I said. Look for the mixed tocopherols or even something called mixed tocotrienol form. There's a lot of good literature coming out now about the tocotrienols. Let's see what else. Magnesium, very important. Vitamin C is very important. You know what else is important for stenoses and inflammatory issues of the circulatory system? Is making sure that your blood sugar is under control. Any history of diabetes, by the way? I forgot to ask you that. Okay, that's a good thing. How's your weight? Are you gaining weight in your later years where you
Yeah.
didn't before? Okay, that's a sign that your blood sugar might be a little bit off. So start focusing on keeping your blood sugar down by eating more protein and getting your essential fatty acids. Omega-3s, by the way, also will help the circulatory system. You'll find those in the Ultimate EFAs. And blood sugar support, chromium and vanadium. Magnesium can support your blood sugar as well as the circulatory system. And then last but not least, there's actually a bunch, but I'm going to wind it down right here, are the B complex of vitamins, super important for the circulatory system. And, we don't talk enough, in my opinion, about the B vitamins, but let me tell you something about the Bs. Because we urinate them out on a regular basis. If you're going to the bathroom, if you're urinating every couple of hours, you're going to run deficient in the B vitamins, and they're unbelievably important for the circulatory system and the heart and blood flow, as well as being anti-inflammatory and protecting you from sugars. The B vitamins are urinated out, and that's why it's so important to make sure you've got a constant, steady stream of the B complex coming into your body all day, every day. And if this is one of the main reasons why I love the Beyond Tangy Tangerine so much, is because it allows you to get a steady stream of water-soluble nutrients, the B complex and vitamin C, and among other nutrients, but especially the B complex. It allows you to get a steady stream of these nutrients. And for anybody dealing with any brain health issues or cardiovascular health issues, this is so important. It's so underappreciated. You don't hear people talking about it, but the B vitamins are the most significantly processed out nutrients. When we do food processing, even just picking a vegetable out of the ground will deplete the B vitamins out of that vegetable. So in my opinion, we're probably all running deficient in the B vitamins, and it's showing up as circulatory health issues, among other health issues, but especially circulatory health issues. So making sure you get a steady stream of the B complex coming in your body through liquid nutrients like the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. And there's lots more that you could do, but that's a good head start. That'll allow you to hit the ground running anyway. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much
very
for calling.
much.
Thank you. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. Truth Raider in Oregon. What's up, buddy? Good to talk to you again.
Good morning, Brightside Ben. Happy, healthy Monday morning to you.
Thank you, my friend. Are you a veteran?
Yes,
Happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day.
For a couple of years, I have to look back on it now and says, wow, boy, was I fooled. No, anyway, I have at least a dozen questions for you, but I'm going to be fair. One question at a time.
Okay, good. What's going on?
LASIK procedure versus getting a pair of glasses. Which is better?
These days LASIK is done they do it pretty routinely. I was just talking to my producer about LASIK, actually. The problem with LASIK, well, first of all, you're messing with your eyes, and, there's always an inherent risk, although it's not a big risk these days. And then LASIK, there are some adverse reactions that can happen to LASIK. My girlfriend had LASIK done, and she ended up with some severely dry eyes for a while. And then you do have to, your eyes will revert, your eyes will degenerate, and you have to have touch-up LASIK done, although it's not as serious a problem or significant a problem as it used to be. But I think you still have to have LASIK touch-ups done. So you got to go back, and it can cost you another couple $1,000s or whatever it is these days to have a touch-up done. Of course, you're not going to have those problems with glasses. But the upside of LASIK is you can wake up in the morning and look at the clock, and you can have 24/7 vision, great vision. So you're going to have to make your own decision on that, Truth Raider. Personally, I'd be using contact lenses or glasses, but that's just me because I don't like anybody messing around with my eyes. But these days they can do it pretty routinely. I got my upstairs neighbor is a surgeon, an eye surgeon, and he's always trying to get me to do the LASIK, and I have resisted as of yet. Are you thinking about it? Is it for you, Truth?
I was thinking about it, but I want to get somebody who knows what he's talking about.
Don't talk to an eye doctor because they'll tell you to have it done. But what you should probably do, probably go to folks who've had it done and see what their take is on it. I have not had it done, and I don't think I'm going to get it done. I use contact lenses and glasses myself.
I had a friend about 12, 13 years ago had it done, and exactly what you just said. He has just a little bit of difficulty with a dry eye issue.
Yeah. My girlfriend still has dry eyes, and she had it done 6 years ago. So you have to make your own decision, buddy. Personally, I'm sticking with the glasses and the contacts.
Okay,
all right.
Will do.
Good to talk to you, Truth Ray. Have a beautiful day, buddy. All right, let's see. Dave, by the way, our number 855-660-4261, and we do have a couple lines open for you. Dave in Michigan, what's going on?
Hey, Ben, I think your show should be required listening for all medical professionals, and at the very least, it should be piped into every hospital and doctor's office in the country, if not the world.
You'll get me assassinated. I don't know if that's a good idea.
I don't want that, never.
What's going on? Thank you. I appreciate that, by the way. Thank you.
My daughter has a friend who had a baby with a hole in his heart.
Oh, bummer. How old is the baby now?
I think about 7 months.
Well, you're not going to patch that hole up. But,
No.
but what it means is that baby has to take, the parents have to take extra good care of the baby. That means that the baby's got, the baby can live a nice life, but that's not going to be a problem necessarily. But that means that if we all have to watch our sugar, and we all have to watch our intake of processed food, and if we all have to make sure that we're taking care of supplementation and getting vitamins and essential fatty acids in the Mighty 90, it's extra important for this infant. So hopefully, is the baby breastfeeding, or you probably don't know, but
No, she wasn't. He wasn't breastfed.
Well, it's too late to do anything about it now, but that's what the first thing that should have happened is that baby should have been breastfed. Making sure that any kind of stressor on that baby's body is eliminated is key. And that means, number one, focusing 100% of their attention on that baby's digestive health. Anytime you have a messed up digestive system, stuff gets into the blood inappropriately, and that could be a disaster for an infant a baby that's born with a hole in their heart. So circulatory health is always primal, but especially when a baby who's compromised like this. So focusing on the digestive system. Many folks at least, don't recognize the connection between circulation and digestion. After we eat a food, that food goes into the blood. Now, if we're healthy, it's not going to go into the blood. It's going to go into the blood in a controlled fashion, but if we're not healthy, it's going to go into the blood in an uncontrolled fashion, and that's a disaster for circulatory health. So making sure the baby is on a clean diet, making sure the baby's eating lots of fermented foods, if the baby can eat fermented foods at this point, but as soon as the baby can eat fermented foods, that should be the bulk of the baby's caloric intake. Fermented foods, sauerkraut and miso soup and tempeh, whatever the baby can eat that's fermented will be in the baby's interest. Certainly supplements.
How soon can you introduce that?
As soon as the baby is willing to eat it, basically.
Okay.
There's no limit. There's no, you can't hurt the baby, but the baby's not, fermented foods are an acquired taste. It's not something that the baby's going to necessarily eat on its own. So as soon as the baby's able to do it or wants to do it, I'd be using fermented foods as much as possible. And then also probiotic supplements, liquid probiotic supplements at first, and then when the baby can do capsules of probiotic supplements as well. And then also using nutrients that help build tissue, especially muscle tissue and connective tissue is going to be very important. Protein, probably the most important. That baby needs to be using protein. Whey protein would be great if the baby can handle whey protein. Hemp seed protein is also helpful for if the baby can't do whey protein, hemp seed protein perhaps. And then also egg protein if the baby can do eggs. Building proteins. And your main two building proteins are always whey and then egg. And then for folks who are vegan or vegetarian or can't do whey and egg because whey and egg can be problems for some people, hemp seed protein also. Hemp seed protein is a really neat protein supplement. Hemp seed protein powder, I should say. And then also vitamin C, any kind of circulatory health issue. Vitamin C, as Thomas Levy calls it, is the primal panacea. It's good for everything, but especially good for the heart and especially good for the circulatory system. Get the baby on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Tastes great and it won't be objectionable. Dilute doses. That's another neat thing about the BTT is you don't need 2 big scoops. You can get great benefits by doing smaller doses, especially for children. Just put it in the baby's bottle and have the baby sip on it through a water bottle. And then using the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, maybe a total of a scoop a day or even half a scoop a day can be beneficial. There's so much more you can do. It's too bad, though, about the genetic defect, but there's a lot you could do. Most important is you want to reduce the load on the baby. The baby's body shouldn't have to do any more work processing toxic foods or getting rid of poison dyes, etc. The less the baby's body has to work, the better off the baby will be. And the more resources the baby's body can use towards building a healthy biological system. Thanks so much for your call, Dave. Appreciate it. And that's all the time we have for today. Tomorrow we'll continue talking about polysaccharides and proteoglycans, and I'll tell you about a neat trick you can use to make your own hair tonic using hyaluronic acid. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You've been listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back tomorrow. Have yourselves a wonderful, beautiful day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.